Welcome back to Infinite Geek Talk, an ongoing conversation between your hosts, former DC Comics editor and owner of Infinite Heroes, Comics, Cards, and Collectibles in Watertown, Connecticut, Paul Santos, who is joined by owner of Rat's Nest Studios and lifelong student of the illustrated word, Keith Field. Let's listen in.
You know what I was thinking about, too, about the multiverse? So now is every story going to be a California Falls in the Ocean for DC?
Yes, I believe so.
For
me specifically.
Because I think some modern readers don't care.
Okay.
Because they're buying... You know what I mean? Like I agree. I'm not saying you're wrong. I
don't think Paul. If that were the case, if I feared that there could come a day, and that day was today, that every story would become California Falls into the Ocean. If I ever thought there was any chance of that, I never would have worked in a comic book shop
Okay, good.
Continued to wash myself in these waters.
Okay, good.
No, the stories will always matter. There's never going to be a time that so many Californians can. We should probably remind everyone, or if this was your first episode.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if we are going to use this material. That a term I coined with myself long ago and have shared with all of you, the podcast listening audience, is my shorthand is California Falls in the Ocean. This refers to the fact that if during a crossover or world-affecting event we start to see things happen to the shared world of the Marvel or DC universe that just can't be dialed back, like the moon blows up, or Captain America explodes in a fountain of gore because a character snapped their fingers. At that point, in my mind, California, as it did in the pages of the Infinity Gauntlet, has just fallen off into the ocean. Something of such huge scale has happened that none of this will matter moving forward. It's all going to be undone with a snap or a resetting of the genie eggs or whatever needs to be done to end this event. So no, as we watch a hand literally snap and baby multiverses swim out of Pariah's hand, I don't dismiss Dark Crisis as California falling into the ocean. We ain't there. Even with this thing, Paul and I were talking off record about this past week's Dark Crisis. I suppose out of order then, Paul, as we were comparing notes before we went to the record, let us discuss or let us initiate, Richard, if you please, Maestro, our book, our first and gloriously smooth-flowing, well-oiled machines. Actually, I've fallen off track. So I dare suggest the whole operation has fallen apart.
Yeah, right.
All right. The music to cue there, maybe Dare to be Stupid.
Done.
Okay, so with a bit of a rewind, Richard, cue the music for our first and beloved ongoing regular feature, our Book of the Week choice. Your official Infinite Heroes books of the week, ladies and gentlemen. So Paul, what was your pick as last week's best read, your book of the week?
I'm going to go with Dark Crisis, number 4.
Dark Crisis, number 4. And that's why we had to change up the order. Normally this would have happened at the end of the episode. Yeah. So continue.
No, I still think it's the best crossover book DC's done in a while.
I'm putting it through the ringer, and I agree with you.
Yeah, and there's no actual... It does a pretty good job than most crossovers where this is the story.
It feels more like an event than the Metal books did, and that makes me sad to say. Because I think Metal should have been a home run.
Death Metal. Yeah.
And for a lot of reasons, it got minimized and didn't get its chance to shine, and it was kind of narratively muddled. And there are some brilliant moments and ideas there. So I'm not here to give it a thumbs down, but this feels a lot more of these are things that will matter. There are story beats here that will matter, even with new realities and new narratives potentially kicking in.
And
and that's why it's not California has fallen into the ocean.
Right, and I like the fact that like the Titans matter more in this. Yep. I do like there are a lot of villains. I wish I'm with you. I miss the days where the villains were at least named in the dialogue. I understand like not putting a caption, saying this is Firefly, this is Captain Cold, but you got to say their names at some point.
How hard is it to show a splash page with numbers in the back as a fun little bonus? If you were wondering who everybody was, and you put the little numbers, I love those little things. I can answer
you. That's no longer artistic enough. Do you remember the
hell with your artistry?
Do you remember the little the asterisk that said someone would say an event? Hawkman, remember when we were on Thanagar? And there would be a little star. It says, read Hawk.
Be little scientists.
Right.
And interact.
It would say, check
with
out.
a living world.
Right. Check out Hawkman's adventure in Hawkman 3 through 12 or something.
Well,
that's kind of gone out the window.
Paul, on this very topic, listen, all of you, I will give you a mission. I, of course, pride myself on my villain knowledge, and as much as I am the Grand Kaiser of the Marvel Universe's supervillain community, I'm still a mighty authority at the House of Ideas. But there are gaps because there are whole families of books, modern books, that I only skim.
Yeah.
So a lot of modern creations, you want to talk about the villains and concepts through the Bronze Age, through the 80s, into the 90s, I'll arrogantly swagger that I am Johnny Big Boy and can go to the mats with anybody continuity-wise. But the modern stuff, there's plenty of gaps. So as I look at these splash pages of villains and I sit there snarkily saying, oh, there's Scorpius. He's died twice since the New 52. And so on.
Yeah, even that I don't. Yeah.
Then I come to a villainess that I've never seen before, and my heart did a double beat. Because it's just the kind of aesthetic that I love in my games and in my stories. It's an evil housewife. It's just it's a woman with an apron and a rolling pin. And the idea of a supervillainous evil housewife is very important to Keith Straussfield. So if any of you know who that is, if that's an actual villainess, I just want to know who she's fought.
She's got to be someone. No,
she's got to be somebody, right?
Yeah, they won't. Yeah.
There's no just like generic sketches.
You're not allowed to.
I racked my brain, and the best I could come up with was during Emperor Joker. The weird version of Wonder Woman was.
Oh, they didn't go that far back.
Was called she because of the lack of editorial smooth that ran through Emperor Joker.
Yeah.
They called her two different things. One of them is Wonder Woman. Or one, it didn't make sense, and she's a porn star.
Oh, I do remember this.
But she looks like a housewife with a rolling pin.
Right.
So I was thinking maybe she's like the Earth Q version of that character.
No, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that.
All right, that was the best I could manage. So if anyone knows who Evil Housewife is, she's my new favorite member of the Secret Society of Supervillains. I need to know who she is.
Later, I could show you who she is, because she'll be on DC Wiki.
Oh, you think?
No, that's how it works. I shouldn't reveal too much stuff, but
DC Insider info.
DC Wiki will always list every character. I will not say how or why they do that.
So in that issue,
yeah, they'll list it.
And the accuracy point is non-negotiable.
No, yeah, that's official.
All right.
Yeah, that'll be official.
All right, so that's Dark Crisis 4. I mean, you got to be happy seeing Green Lanterns featured in the fashion they are, because those are some of the stronger beats in that story.
Yeah, as much of a Kyle fan I am, I don't mind when Hal takes the lead, because I do like Hal. Like, he's fine. He's not my bottom tier Green Lantern.
If I haven't said it before, I said it to you yesterday, and I felt as though your breathing pattern did change slightly. So I'll tell our interested masses. If Keith had the ability to perform a service for the DC Universe in the Green Lantern household, it would be to rewrite time, the universe, and everything in such a way that we got Jeff Johns, and he did everything he did for the franchise still. But in that better timeline, there's only one Green Lantern.
Well, I don't fight you
and
on
his
this.
name is Kyle.
Yeah.
Well, I can't imagine you would.
No,
He's your boy.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, I dig the character a lot, so I'm just happy to see the very concept return.
Yeah.
Because it's been gone for too long.
Yeah, and I think it's...
I was kind of hoping Hal would stay dead. Same for Barry.
Well, we've talked about this, not to get on a Green Lantern tangent, but like, there are things you could do with every single current Green Lantern to not make them Green Lantern.
Word.
And just keep... And I'm going to say Kyle for sake of argument. because I love Kyle, so I know other people have other favorites. But this does not mean getting rid of Jessica Cruz or
No, I'm not saying kill anybody.
Oh, I am saying killing one person because I think it's stupid that she even exists.
No, Paul, you have to make a concession. You have to meet the universe halfway.
One of them, well, all right, then I actually
even in your fantasy.
Then I was even see, and I think we've gone.
She goes bad, Paul.
Well, that's fine. But I think Alan Scott could go away. He's another completely ruined character at this point.
That's where I reveal because people sometimes ask, with your preoccupation with getting rid of death in books and your love of retro bullcrap,
right.
It shocks me that you like the 90s. I said, well, because all of us are hypocrites of the heart, right?
Right.
Comes down to it. I liked Zero Hour a lot, and I felt the JSA should have stayed old ass dead. I was glad seeing a new generation take over.
Right. Most of them did stay dead. The only ones who came back were Wildcat, Jay, and Alan Scott.
So the idea of no Alan Scott,
I think is
delicious and way overdue.
Same thing with Jay Garrick. I don't need Jay anymore.
Right.
There
was a day I can't believe that Keith Field would speak these words ever. The young me would have wanted me dead. For even suggesting such a thing that yes, Jay should die. Jay should pass. And it doesn't even have to be dramatic. It should be nice, quiet.
And this, I should also point out,
slumber.
this has nothing to do with Dark Crisis 4. But I do like Dark Crisis 4. It has a big hero lineup.
Correct.
Big villain lineup.
We're allowed our tangents from time to time. But ultimately, it's solid.
The writing is solid. It's not, I will say, if anyone's looking for it in terms of an Infinite Crisis or Flashpoint, it's not as universe breaking every page. Because every page of Infinite Crisis, something huge.
But that's what makes it feel so
it's
so
smaller.
Much
it's
better.
Yeah.
Is that it is a microcosm, and it has its own little rules, its own little arena call, as it were.
Right.
The threats to the heroes do not feel like we need a reboot to undo them, and that's very satisfying.
Oh, sure.
And the weird compliment I'll pay it is this: in the same way that I have shared with you and all of our fans my bizarre reasons for liking Morbius, not the movie, I'm not a liar, but the character and the franchise. The idea of, in those issues when he fights the Living Eraser or the Melter, that pairing of this weird-ass vampire against grade Z villains is cool to me.
Right.
So, too, would I say of the Dark Crisis storyline. Stories in which a villain is dramatically boosted up, and it is understood throughout whatever's going on that they are possessed or inhabited by someone else, or it's an imposter of that villain. I really like those stories when they happen.
I like what they're doing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't like the
stories in which Dr. Doom's doing crap and you know it's not Doom in the armor.
Yeah.
I love those stories.
Yeah.
There's nifty. It shows the reality of those characters, those franchises, and those concepts, that they can be impersonated, and that themes the event. So I guess it's a minor spoiler to say, I really enjoyed the Deathstroke aspect of this thing as a result.
Right.
I don't know how that's been going.
I don't know. I saw reviewers be like, "Oh, it's being implied that Pariah is controlling the Great Darkness." I don't read that.
I don't read that at all.
I was very bizarre. Bleeding Cool is one of these people.
There is a read. The read is that they specifically are checking the idea that there is an entity behind the Great Darkness itself.
Yeah.
And it seemed as though, now this I would suggest is open to debate. The dialogue between Luthor and Deathstroke would imply to me that Luthor has figured out what is influencing the Great Darkness.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Yeah, that he was speaking through Deathstroke. And I was like, well, and this will sound like a slam, I apologize. It wasn't cleanly enough written for me that was made obvious.
Yeah,
but that's what I took away from it.
I'll give you that one for sure.
Yeah, there was a little more of an inference. So I will tell you that my book of the week last week was a DC title as well. For, again, DC maintains the creative verve these days. And that book was the Flashpoint Batman number 5.
Yeah, a very good book.
Loving that book. Loving that title, but that issue in particular. Now, I really can't say what I wish to say about it without immediately going into spoilers, not only for it, but for Dark Crisis to some degree, but I'll try not to make them deep, crannied spoilers. It is enough to know that the book opens with a character announcing that it has been several weeks since the end of Dark Crisis. Now, I won't even say everything that follows, but what then you could then guess is we see the landscape of the DC Universe to come before we actually see the landscape of the DC Universe to come. Now, the book is brilliant, and regardless, I don't feel that it really takes anything away from Dark Crisis. But given the fact that we are now seeing a supposed communication of what the universe is going to wind up as, it does engender a lot of excitable conversation that I think you have to avoid. Things about the Justice Society and everything else, because we don't know. Even this could be a story beat that is informing Dark Crisis. That this 2 weeks later, 2 months later, or whatever it is, could be something that wipes away by the end of Dark Crisis.
Right. And there's also, and for people who don't know, this is the book that stars Thomas Wayne as Batman. So you've seen the Flashpoint Batman in toys and stuff.
It's been brilliant. It's every theme Johns has been playing with forever, and it ties super hard into Doomsday Clock. So if your way of approaching him was just Doomsday Clock, ties hard to it.
I think it ties in more to Doomsday Clock than it does Flashpoint.
I'm
being 100% honest.
Yeah. Regardless as to what world it's set on.
Yeah. I get the Batman stuff, but it's way more Doomsday Clock.
I think last week I actually had gone ahead and said and spoiled, so I'll just come out and say it, that I believe at the end of this thing, the Flashpoint Earth is going to be the new home Earth of the JSA. That Johns is then going to be writing and doing Stargirl on. The sequence we see, so now I'll just lead into it, in this week's Flashpoint indicates that is exactly the case, and this is the Earth of the JSA
well, also
now.
Dark Crisis 4.
And at the end of Dark Crisis 4,
you see,
and that's that spoil, is that we see the new multiverse spill out of Pariah's.
Now, the only reason I think that's not going to happen is because you don't do that in issue 4. You know what I mean? From an editorial.
Then. Yeah.
No, I know, but
obviously the bigger story isn't the
sites, and none of the sites are going crazy. Like the fans, the news
it doesn't
sites,
feel like this is your universe.
Yeah,
that's why who knows? But the flip side being with the Flashpoint business, that given Johns is notorious,
Jeff's
I do what I want in my bubble. Even then, he could just be spoiling the eventual end of Dark Crisis.
Right.
So it's more a question of that than the other thing.
It's going to be a long 3 months because it ends in 3 months.
It's the kind of thing Uncle Grant would go on at length about. The metafiction becomes this interesting evolving animal.
But Flashpoint is done. Flashpoint beyond
one more
issue. Yeah. So that's why I think you're not. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting.
I don't want him to die. I really like that character.
Well, because the JSA are in Dark Crisis. That's the only reason why I don't think. Okay. I think you're gonna end up with multiverse stuff.
I shrug with acceptance, but yet we don't know.
Right.
So fascinating stuff. And even with that aside, I really love the weird little version of the DCU he's building so quickly. You know, like the fact that the Rogues Gallery were all just gimmicky, normal thugs without powers in an alley. Yeah, I dig that. But yet then he leaned hard in with a zebra woman and some other stuff. I dig it, man. I enjoy when somebody lets free like that.
Now he's able to do whatever he wants, but he's got more freedom now.
And it feels happy. There's an energy there that I really love.
We should not piss off our Marvel fans. We should probably talk about D23.
Well, Paul. Yeah. Keith Charles Field, the master of the segue, was going to say that as we conclude this successful installment of this beloved feature, our books of the week. See, I didn't say cue the music that time. I think now we've got it down. He knew. Boom. You hit that music. As I had a beautiful segue in mind. You stomped all over it. You're a monster.
I didn't say a word, but okay.
It's all right. I forgive you. I forgive you, Paulito. That indeed, this past week, it was this, you glorious bastard. This is my segue. Let me see if I can resurrect it. Now the expectation is so high, it's going to come across as so half-baked.
Just don't forget it.
It's fully baked, I promise you, America. And beyond. Oh no, it's slipping away already because Paul spoke.
Oh man,
it's hurtful. It's this. Hi there, friends. We were talking about the industry, right? We were talking about
Do you need
content
Ritalin
creators.
or something? Jesus.
Paul, this is my process. We were talking about talking heads. We were talking about the world of the media, of the interwebs, of the YouTubes, of the Twitters, of the Reddits. And we were talking about content creation. And specifically, we were discussing, as Paul has presaged before I fell off the edge of my brain, the announcements that were made at the D23 Disney showcase. And we'll go into a little more detail as to what it is before we talk about those announcements. But at any rate, we had last week talked about the expectation of D23. And I had said that I had been hearing that one of the surprise things you can expect is that Disney will be acknowledging the passionate response to the narrative absence of Elizabeth Olsen, and that there would be some tease made about the Scarlet Witch and Elizabeth Olsen and the Vision in the future, even if it was just going to be some paltry throwaway.
And I had heard FF stuff. Like, I heard that from multiple sources that at least a cast announcement.
So I felt it would be necessary to lead on the fact that I make this announcement. Hello, friends. I would like you all to join me as a posse as I stare virtually out across the universe at the individuals. There are two who were my talking heads, who said to me, not to an internet, but to me during the course of, hey man, really love the podcast, level conversations. Various bits and pieces that I have found have been increasingly ill borne out about some recent television and movie releases. This is the last straw. Hello, my dear ones. You are to be shot into the sun. And I hate you very much. You know who you are, the two of you.
One of them is not me, in case anyone is wondering.
I'm kidding. I love you very much.
I might be one.
Okay,
But make no mistake. You will be shot into the sun. You will not know when. You will not know by what contrivance, but you shall. And when you are carbonized, justice will be done. But I had to make an example of you here, at least conceptually, lest we lose our credibility. Now, Paul, that's how much I worry about our integrity. Where's the integrity of any idiot online, whether it was in the Reddit or the YouTube or the Twitterverse, coming forward to bow their head in the wake of this underwhelming horror show of nothingness that they called the D23.
Well, they're still saying...
Now, Paul, pause. You see what my segue was? You see how beautiful it was?
Yeah, sure.
So many levels there was?
Sure.
Think about how you threatened it.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
you
that's
did.
on me.
You did, right?
That's on me, yes.
All right, Paul, and that's why I love you. Now, in the wake of your humble admissions, continue.
Yeah, I mean they're posting videos that
Ritalin,
Henry Cavill is still going to be Dr. Doom. Like that's what they're posting. They're not apologizing.
They won't even stop now.
I can't. I don't understand. Like, and I'm not saying like.
Hey friends of any one of the 14 podcasts or channels with the word "awesome" in your title.
Yeah,
listen to me, you clickbait anglefish. Model.
Yeah, those guys.
Stop lying.
Yeah, don't listen to those people. I've told you that before.
Stop it with your awesome. It's not awesome to fib.
That was awesome.
I've had a very hard life. I tend to believe people at face value.
Did you believe them?
You're not being awesome to me, you awesome.
Did you believe them on the Henry Cavill stuff too?
No, they're lying jerks.
Yeah,
Stop lying.
There was also a pretty.
Say things you know.
There was a big name.
Do you like bread? That's clickbait. You say, you know what? I like bread. I see that. I'm gonna click. I'm gonna give you your clicks. And you didn't lie. Don't lie to me. Talk about bread.
Yeah, it's...
Go on, Paul.
A semi-big named actress who I'm blanking on was also rumored to be Sue Storm. That didn't... No announcements were made.
Yes, that after the last supposed favorites were Glenn Howerton of It's Always Sunny fame, because supposedly Krasinski's totally out.
Oh, you're right. Krasinski's out. Yeah, I think that's 100% true.
It makes me sad.
Yeah.
I think there's a thing to be done there. And it makes me sad that the Emily Blunt was not a consideration for Sue.
Well, because
of her.
She bowed out. And
that's worth saying that people don't know.
Yeah, so Emily Blunt and John Krasinski are married, for anybody who doesn't know. They wanted both of them to be in the FF. Emily Blunt just isn't interested in doing action franchises anymore. I guess Quiet Place doesn't count as an action franchise.
It still makes me sad.
So Krasinski said if his wife's not doing it, he's not doing it. That's why you saw
Makes
him
me
in.
sad. They would have been perfect.
That's why you saw him in Multiverse of Madness as
The self-appointed steward of the Fantastic Four franchise.
Yeah.
They would have been perfect.
That's also why he has a beard. I found out. That's why Chris, so Disney won't it won't take away from seeing the real Reed Richards first.
The painful narratives.
But the
psycho battles.
But the amount of clickbait, like people stop going to Cosmic Book News or the Hype or all these other places because they're wrong all the time.
You out.
I don't give a shit about those people.
Okay.
They're poison. They are clickbait poison.
Well.
Someone posted a picture of an onstage FF cast announcement like 3 a.m. LA time. Where I don't know if anybody needs to hear this, but they're not making announcements at 3 a.m. on the West Coast. And I wish Warner Brothers would hammer down this Henry Cavill deal so that all these stupid rumors could end. And then maybe they will get him for something at Marvel. Who knows? I'm just tired of it being Galactus.
I really don't want to derail this, but I got to ask you a question now because I've never had the courage to say this.
Yeah.
What is with all of you people in this Henry Cavill? Man of Steel is perhaps the worst movie ever made.
Yeah, but I will tell you from a business perspective. I won't even get into the fan
is it just
stuff.
that? Is it just
Because
we want to maintain momentum?
The fan,
because I get that.
So you already know Henry Cavill,
Yeah,
right?
that's it
So
then.
this is what happens in everything media wise.
Yeah.
You're risking, and this is for WB to listen.
The
to me.
Banjo-Kazooie principle.
I guess.
Yes, because Rare had no top
Oh,
tier
yes,
for
I know what
independent
you're saying now,
franchises.
yeah.
But when Microsoft made those Microsoft properties, the feeling was even if it's just a handful of fans, it's still born-in fans.
Right. So Henry Cavill is big. He didn't bomb on anything, right? So you can't discount him. So you're hoping that whoever
He's
you
hot,
get
I'll
to
give him that.
whoever you're getting to replace Henry Cavill is going to be on equal footing of Henry Cavill, and there's no fan casting.
I get all that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if there was,
that's what I'm saying. If it's just that, I get it.
If there was a show on Netflix, like let's say it was even Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
or House of the Dragon,
Yeah.
If there was a guy that looked like Superman, that was like in his 20s, late 20s, that people are like, he should play Superman. He would get it.
Ew, that's the
But-
dark side of meta.
Yeah,
isn't
you're
it? Though?
never like Henry Cavill is too bankable.
Uncle Grant has taught us all so much.
Yeah, you're not.
I get
WB
it.
would be stupid to waste that.
Okay, so to continue
yes.
the thought, though. Go ahead.
Now, Marvel on the flip side, these rumors of
Oh,
him.
well, actually, before we get too deep, it is worth saying D23 is an annual showcase that is put on by the Disney Corporation, an upfront and a bunch of other things where they're going to make announcements about all of their different brands moving into the next year. We had talked about it a little bit last week.
And it was laughably bad, I think.
There used to be a
Very
level
bad.
of exclusivity. You know, most organizations do have their elites, the elite fan, the generous donor, that sort of thing. Somewhere along the line, well, I suppose that's I don't want to go off on that tangent because I tend to get addicted to it, but the whole, like, secret world of Disney fandom is fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
And the media that covers and is attached to that media is pretty fascinating, too. You can see all manners of whispers of it online. And if you go to YouTube, there's any number of different channels and cultures dedicated to it. It's neat stuff, but it's also terrifying because it's, neat and terrifying. But it's out there to be found out. And D23 used to be a little more of an exclusive entity. Now, like, content creators, casual media, and even just fans can wind up at D23. But there is still some level of curated mystery and exclusivity about D23.
Well, right. And
Do you think that's a fair summary of D23?
Yeah, well, yes, but D23 didn't matter until like 2 or 3 years ago.
Well,
like that's when they released.
Right. That's when they could market it. That's when they turned it into a showcase.
I think it was like 3 years ago is when they announced all the shows. It wasn't at San Diego or New York Comic Con. It was at D23. And you had a trailer for WandaVision. At least the trailer for WandaVision.
It used to be the make-believe Receival of Light for the make-believe Mason that was the hidden Disney fan.
The Avengers video game was the trailer was released there.
Right.
This weekend, no video game trailer of note. Right.
All right.
Zero.
So the things from this weekend. Nothing video game wise that I am familiar with. Actually, there was their Magic game There
But
was
it's
some
a card game. That's not a
know.
game. That's not a
just
video
going
game.
Through that's a card
And
game.
that's going to die a horrible death,
Yes,
I'm
it will.
assuming.
They have announced a collectible card game featuring the Disney characters that will play like Magic the Gathering.
And that, to clarify, that's Disney characters,
Disney-owned
Marvel,
anything,
yes, Star Wars, everything.
The lead
Disney-
news was just Disney stuff.
But they're going to
from what I
add. They're going to
understand.
add.
Yeah, well,
stuff.
they have.
So now you're going to have Mickey Mouse. Your Mickey Mouse card will beat your Wolverine card or something.
Boom.
You know.
Boom. True that, yo.
All the Disney proper stuff was, for me, very yawn fest.
And really, no reason to linger on the Disney. Let's just talk about the Marvel and even the Star Warsery and associated genre.
One thing I will say, Sarah Jessica Parker looks worse in Hocus Pocus than Bette Midler, and I don't know how that's possible.
Now look,
like Bette Midler is like 80.
Paul, listen, I am accused constantly of being a pretty shitty homosexual.
I'm pretty sure I've accused you of that.
That I blur a lot of the lines, and I have my own unique takes on the culture. So I believe in this case, if I say anything negative about this movie, I'm probably doing terrible things to my standing in gay society.
Do gay people like Hocus Pocus?
Yes.
Oh, I did not know that.
So, but more importantly, Sarah Jessica Parker. So what I'll give you is I'm going to give you a pleading and nod or shake of my head. You don't have to tell the people how I'm reacting.
Right. Okay. I won't say anything.
There you go. So yeah, let it be known which side of history I stand.
So none of the Disney stuff.
That woman was in Naugatuck last year.
Who was?
The one of the Hocus Pocus citizens.
The voice Peggy Hill. Peggy Hill. I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Kathy Seuss?
No, that's not right. I'm sorry, I don't know your name. I'm not the one who met you though. I think you did.
I didn't meet her either.
Okay.
You think I'm waiting in a line to meet that?
Some of my customers met her.
And
sure.
she wasn't. It's. You sure it's not? No, that's Bobby Hill.
No, she's Peggy
someone.
Hill.
Her name is. Her name is none. Her name is Sister Habit woman.
Yes,
I
she's
think
also
that's her
Sister
name.
Habit.
I think that's her name.
So the Disney stuff was pretty much a fail. The Star Wars stuff, we'll go in order.
Star Wars is now dead, so only zombie Star Wars on television now.
So Mandalorian Season 3 looked great. That trailer I was pretty... I know you're not fond of the Mandalorian stuff, even though that's the whole show. Correct. It's called The Mandalorian.
I don't like the ninjas and Daredevil shows either, Paul. I'm a very complicated character.
This is the way.
Okay.
Yes, it's a path.
But that trailer didn't look.
Quiet dignity.
That trailer.
It looks fine, but it looks so vanilla to me. I want something.
What does that mean?
I want something that blows me out.
I'm gonna put my editor hat on and be. What does that mean?
All right, Paul.
You know what editors do most of the time? Also, just they answer questions with other questions.
I wasn't sure.
Pro tip.
Pro tip made.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure that we really wanted to linger on Star Wars.
No, we're not lingering. We just got here.
Right, very well. I will tell you, editor. I feel that any of the standards that have been put forward about the Mandalorians, the Mandalorian culture, and the extended universe are best ignored, and we should start whole cloth anew.
But we are, though, kind of.
But we are kind of, right.
Yeah,
I accept that.
Yeah, we are kind of.
And we have kind of throughout these beginning seasons. Yeah. I accept that. It's not like I'm such a weird, hypocritical troll that I don't see there's logic flaws in that. It's my way. But I've accepted it and tried to meet the show halfway with things like that Cad Bane guy, for example. I don't give a shit about the cartoons, but I know.
Oh, yeah,
but I know enough about them that I'm like, yeah, okay.
We're gonna get a lot of angry emails because that statement.
Of course we are. But that's exactly it, right? That's my relationship with the extended universe. I know about it all. I know about it, but I don't care, and I'd rather we stray from it.
But that's the Disney, like the
the Disney really is the kinda. Just like you said.
Right, because all the older EU that's gone.
Right.
Mandalore, there was a lot of lore behind Boba Fett and Mandalorians.
So we're gonna get a different version of it all. We're gonna get a Disney version of it all, which still is gonna draw from the expanded universe, kind of. So I think we're on the same page now.
Right.
So that's my problem. So no, I'm not sitting here telling you I'm not going to watch that show, and I'm not sitting here telling you that we should just shoot all of it into the sun. But I'd rather see the expectations subverted. Like Grand Admiral Thrawn, for example.
Yeah.
I don't want to, in my headcanon, in my culture, here's where I want Disney culture to go with the Star Wars stuff, storytelling.
Right.
I want to see a version of Grand Admiral Thrawn, as if a crisis had taken place, and in the wake of a post-crisis environment, this is the Disney-era Grand Admiral Thrawn. I want to meet kinda head-on. Does that make sense to you?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
It does not.
I want to own kinda. I want to say, let's go ahead and acknowledge that we're not going to stay staid to the continuity of either. That we can weave these elements in and craft a new canon that is the synthesis of the expanded universe and these new projects.
But I think that's what they're trying to do. Because the cartoons
I do think that's what they're trying to do without stating it. I say own it as a philosophy.
Yeah, no, I think they're doing that. Because the cartoons are not most, but like a lot of the fan base.
Otherwise, you're going to wind up with mistakes, is my point. Just like after a reboot or a crisis.
Right. Well, I will, to defend Disney a little bit, the only EU stuff that is not live action that anyone cares about are the cartoons. So your comics and your books don't matter like they didn't matter 30 years ago. So
still, Paul, and this is a sidetrack, and I apologize. It still does chafe me that they don't matter because we were all sold a bill of goods that they all mattered. Number one, even the old Marvel series, we were told it was canon,
right,
with Pliff and that damn rabbit,
the bunny. Yeah,
we were told those things mattered.
Sure, but Disney's the one who killed it. So, more or less.
And so I get the billboards and I get the tears. So I'll never slam any fan of the expanded universe who doesn't defer to it on my weird level, but honestly, genuinely loves it. They got a right to their pain. But I get it.
But I don't know I'm making my way through the cartoons right now.
Yeah.
And
so is Richard, I believe.
I had been.
Yeah.
I made it through Clone Wars.
Yeah, I'm only on season 1 of Clone Wars. Yeah, it's very much a kid. That Jar Jar episode, I was like, my wife was like, "Why are you twitching?" I'm like, "Because I can't."
I am familiar with this episode, given my own spotty watching of all of it.
Who are these children who like Jar Jar Binks? Because I didn't know any of them. I was in high school when that came out, and my cousins were younger.
I think it's less about the children who like Jar Jar Binks.
No one. I'm here to say that's a lie. No one likes Jar Jar Binks.
Of course it's a lie.
No one.
It's the first episode of House of the Dragon where you acknowledge that in the future the Khaleesi is going to fight the winter.
Oh, don't worry. They acknowledged it then again last night.
Excellent.
So they keep on talking about this. I don't know why.
Again, trying to own the poison.
But
dignity.
I will say that. Now I lost my train of thought. This season,
I'm a monster. That's what I heard.
Right. This season of Mandalorian seems to be focused a lot on expanding the Mandalorian as a race.
Correct.
I like the fact that Mando's sect of Mandalorians are like crazy cultists.
Correct.
And they're more like the original Mandalorians.
It's a perfect framing device for a quote-unquote innocence POV.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Because it doesn't cuck the POV at all,
right.
if that makes sense.
Right. I think they're probably going to talk about more about the Empire. Because the Great Purge is from the original...
Correct.
The original EU.
And let me say that, and I'm not interrupting you, stick with that.
Yeah.
Is that... the benefit of the embracing the expanded universe stuff for me, whereas I just kind of spoke to the negative,
right,
is it's nice to have this lore that's been in my head and in so many of our heads from novels and from these scattered sources get put out there as the visual medium. It feels like a victory, right?
Right.
So that's where I am pleased about those kinds of establishments.
Yeah.
That you can have characters say, now we can actually speak out in a live action forum, because that's more real for me, how things went down with the Mandalorians. And then, for example, in Solo, when we saw Darth Maul, that was a big moment for me. I know everyone hated that movie.
No, I liked it too.
Moment.
Yeah, I liked it too.
We're owning a thing in the cartoons. We're making it real.
Yeah.
So we're owning a thing in any of the expanded universe. I like when it's made real.
Yeah, and
I still want Grand Admiral Thrawn to live.
Oh, well,
past his character's eventual death.
Well, yeah, but what was he in? He was in the cartoon.
And then after that...
Was he in Soul? He was supposed to be in a live action and wasn't?
Well, now he was supposed to be, or he will be the villain of Ahsoka.
Oh, he is going to be the villain of Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Okay, so he survives?
The death doesn't happen until well after the events of that show.
Oh, okay.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but is that in the original EU?
Yes.
No, that's the
where
problem.
the principle comes in. That's what I'm saying.
Disney does not acknowledge that. They don't acknowledge any of the original EU. So he's not dead on their timeline.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah,
Paul.
yeah,
now you understand.
Yeah, he's
that's
not
what I was
dead,
coming
yeah.
from in the beginning. Yes.
Yeah. So
and that's where I embrace it all.
Yeah.
It's like we're getting a new version of it. It's meeting it halfway.
Right.
So yes, now you understand it last.
Now, saying that, the 3D, and I know these people, I like 2D animation. I'm a monster, apparently.
No,
but like
man,
that
we're monsters together.
That CGI cartoon, I don't know. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
We're still doing this? Like, we're still doing
Yeah.
CGI cartoons?
Wasn't the whole point to keep it cheap and it was impressive to the rubes at those given times?
Listen, the producers...
We're done. It's no longer impressive.
The producers of Invincible and Castlevania...
Randy Maniacs routinely can animate things in 3D, render online just for their naughty pornography. There's no art in it anymore.
No, they've all come out and said it's not that much cheaper to do it in 2D. Because in 2D, you're still doing computer stuff.
Right.
So this whole...
2D, please.
Oh, we did Clone Wars as CGI, so now every Star Wars cartoon is CGI.
Please make draw now.
Is annoying.
Art pretty.
And then the other Star Wars announcement is no more movies.
No more movies. That's what I mean
that
about
was interesting.
zombie.
That was interesting.
Star Wars is now an undead monster. That, yes, we have hit the point in Star Wars narrative where a corporation is telling us, we love our Star Wars. The algorithm has determined it is more profitable this way. You will watch on our network shows. This is bizarro world, man.
Yeah, and I'm with a lot of the Star Wars fans that you could do a lot of other movies, like the easy one that everybody harps is Knights of the Old Republic, which would be very easy to do as a trilogy or whatever, and everybody would go nuts.
Dude, go get a pad, go get a pen. We'll have 10 movies down within the next 5 minutes.
Right.
We already do have 2. Come on.
But it's very interesting. I think that was, but again, only 2 trailers, only Mandalorian and. I think they saw the first episode of Andor. That's not public though. That was like one of these, like if you're at D23, you get to watch Andor.
Again, that's the velvet rope aspect of it.
And they almost assigned NDAs or something because there's been no response online on it.
So here is Keith Field's play-at-home game for all of you. If you'd like to play the very special game of exclusive screening of Andor at D23, here's how you can have your own special virtual screening. Go to Walmart. Go to the Lego aisle. Walk up and down the aisle and look carefully. You'll be able to see the events of the entire Andor series play out on the boxes of the Legos alone.
Oh, I can't believe they still do that.
If it doesn't go deep enough for you, though, just go one aisle over, because the action figures are waiting there. Between those 2 aisles, you'll have everything that those viewers got to witness.
That's interesting. And then we'll go to the thing.
The robots are adorable.
Sure. Well, they have to sell to kids.
Yeah.
Moving on to Marvel.
Now we get there.
Even some of that stuff. And you know what's funny? I'm watching the Werewolf by Night thing.
All right.
Am I the only one who thinks it looks bad?
It
doesn't
looks
cheap.
Only look bad. I just don't know who they think
8-year-olds
wants this.
8-year-olds. It's filmed for 8-year-olds. It's bizarre in no way. And I've harped on this.
But you know, the 8-year-olds didn't embrace big bad Beetleborgs, right?
Well, no.
Yeah, there's a certain level of just stupidity that a kid can see through.
Yeah.
No, this isn't Power Rangers. No, you just get this away from me.
Yeah, it looked gross and weird, and I did like seeing Man-Thing, but
Hey, but who,
it's shot bad. It's shot bad.
The handful of conversations I've had, there's a few people who are surprisingly passionate about Elsa Bloodstone, a character I've never given a fig about.
Oh yeah, because she's
she's a hottie. She hits a certain.
She's a Warren Ellis redo character. He didn't create her, but
oh God, Paul, I suppose it's as good a place as any to admit to you. I love Next Wave.
Yeah.
I hate that they reincorporated those characters into continuity, and anytime they show up in a story, you know what it does? Kind of makes it California falling into the ocean.
That's a weird
hashtag Machine Man.
Right.
It just so doesn't reconcile. It feels gross and broken. Like an imaginary character is now a part of this Iron Man run.
You mean the Next Wave characters showing up in Marvel?
Correct. Correct. That once Next Wave was big and Warren Ellis left that project alone, when they tried to retain those personalities for those characters, pushing them forward into the mainstream universe, much less using that stupid Beyond Corporation.
Right.
It didn't make sense because that stuff doesn't reconcile with continuity.
Right. Next Wave, he tried Wait, did it start?
No, it was after he left.
Yeah,
it was all after he left.
Yeah, it's because I'll tell you multiple reasons. One, the next time Monica Rambeau showed up, it was immediately brought up because she's too big of a character. Everyone likes this version of Elsa Bloodstone better. I don't. Because original Elsa Bloodstone is like a sex pot Buffy the Vampire Slayer
with more of a good girl vibe, even though she's
very
hyper-sexed.
Super cheesecake.
Her default, I think, was cutoffs, right?
Her default was like Daisy Dukes and tank tops that covered almost nothing.
Yep.
So Warren Ellis made her into like a
with
badass.
Victorian choker.
Right. And Warren Ellis made her into a badass, somehow taller, somehow red hair chick. She looks nothing. This is not, if you were an artist, she looked nothing like she did originally. I still want them to retcon that Bloodstone isn't the original Bloodstone.
And then we'd have two hot girls.
Well, yeah.
That's worth doing.
I see what you mean.
Good call.
I see what you mean about Next Wave, but I don't mind it that much.
All right, so back to the point.
So Werewolf by Night, I'll watch it, but it's another you watch that trailer and you watch the Secret Invasion trailer. And they're trying to be like, look, a show for grown-ups. And then you're like, why can't they all be for grown-ups, number one?
And then there's Secret Invasion.
And in Secret Invasion, I've watched that trailer a couple of times now.
Muddy, ugly, weird piece of glunk.
I'm going to tell you this, and this is going to be controversial.
Paul has some interesting takes.
Their height, the fact that you're not seeing the Skrulls, that they're not saying Skrulls.
Correct.
This is going to be not the refugee Skrulls, because his friend is confused. The good Skrull, what's his face? I don't remember his name. Talos is confused. Mm-hmm. And when he assaults that one guy in the restaurant, and everyone becomes that guy, he's freaked out.
Yes.
I think these are two things. Multiversal Skrulls, so they come from a different reality.
Okay.
And they
is Paul pitch one?
This is like, pitch one,
That's
but
your
it's going to be all of them, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're going to be not
possibility,
only...
we'll say.
And not only that, they're Kang foot soldiers, which in the comics... He had these shapeshifters called Space Phantoms.
Correct.
Which are just like interdimensional, they look like 1950s humanoid aliens.
I could go real deep, but I'm not going to.
No.
What you said is perfect.
So I think Marvel will just call these versions of the Skrulls Space Phantoms.
Rock on.
I heard one person criticize, but they just have a little bit of, the Skrulls only look different, they look mutilated. They're not mutilated, they're different. If you watch enough Star Trek, you notice color changes. That Skrull that you see isn't feral and hurt.
I thought you made a fair point on that, but I am not totally convinced because it's so friggin' dark and muddy.
That's not him wounded. That's what he looks like. And I think these Skrulls are going to be, because they've ruined the Skrulls in this universe.
Correct.
I've gone on things on Captain Marvel. The craziest one is that they turned the Skrulls into refugees. She's murdered women and children and innocent Skrulls, and she does not give two craps about that. This
is my fight song.
Right, yeah.
Crushing baby's heads off.
So I think what you're going to do is you're going to get, these are going to be different reality Skrulls.
I don't know.
And they're hiding, like, that last shot of Fury.
Yeah.
Who are you afraid? It says something like, who are you afraid of, or what are you, like...
What are you afraid of?
What are you afraid of? It's probably Kang. He's probably afraid of Kang.
What is it that you fear?
Yeah, it's not the Skrulls. It's gonna be Kang, maybe the Beyonder or something. I'm not saying the Beyonder, but like something like that. It's not gonna be Skrulls.
I don't think you're far off, and I think I'm glad you mentioned the Beyonder because we can take it that direction. Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think we're at a point now that, given the fact we've announced ahead of D23, that we're building toward the Kang boss fight of Wave 5, whatever it is, Phase 5, as our big bad, and we've known that for a while now, that at this point we better hurry up and start making Kang a credible threat. His mentions and appearances have been edited out of the garbage that is largely rolled out in the past phase.
He's only been in Loki.
You're not building a universe. There's no grist to consider this a credible threat other than the good faith that everyone is engendering this thing, myself included.
Do you remember when people thought he was going to be mentioned in Spider-Man and Doctor Strange?
Right.
And then zero.
Nothing.
Zero. I mean, we don't even know from a narrative point of view.
So we better start tying things to this. So yeah, the idea of these Skrulls being Kang's hand is fine.
Yeah.
I think the jury's out on whether or not they will be Skrulls or even look Skrully, because I'm not convinced with that Wounded Skrull argument, but I think it's a solid argument.
Right.
But yeah, Space Phantoms, I think we have seen the symbolic structure here, that it's going to be about whatever the Marvel Cinematic Universe's space phantoms are versus the Skrulls.
Which is too bad because
it's a weird misuse and sideways use of the concepts.
And I actually like Secret Invasion. I might not like it better narratively than Civil War.
It just botched its end.
The ending, the ending
He
was
Loves
stupid.
You was a total botch.
Yeah.
That reveal was stupid.
Yeah, it's the Abraham. It's God with a capital G.
Yeah,
and you're like, wait.
Not only does it fly in the face of decades of continuity, but you can't just bandy around the word God.
No, that's not the same.
That doesn't work.
It's
it
a different planet. But everything else I loved. I love the idea behind it.
Yep.
I do think it would work better if Bendis had just said Spider-Woman was the queen. I don't know why he got cold feet. So Spider-Woman was supposed to be the Queen Skrull
forever
for since the 7. She died and she never came back. But I think he got cold feet, or Marvel told him no.
They didn't use it to clean up enough. Yeah. It was our chance to have a brilliant. We finally had our chance to have a crisis, to reboot whole characters. It was elegant in its simplicity. And that we would have still had our high ground of, but we didn't need to reboot the universe.
The Wolverine scene still drives me crazy. That someone who may or may not have been Joe Quesada nixed it because Wolverine was already a Skrull in the Claremont issues. And everyone's like, yeah, but it fixes why there's 3 Wolverine. Because basically, for everybody who doesn't know, Wolverine at that time was in the Avengers, the X-Men, his solo title, and then sometimes in other teams, like
People
a random
took
team.
It, man.
They're like, oh my God, it's going to be the Savage Land. There's going to be 3 Wolverines just looking at each other. And they didn't do that. And then you find out Bendis, by his words, said, no, that was supposed to happen.
And I trust that.
I couldn't do it because Wolverine was already a Skrull in the 90s.
I'll trust that for all the flack I give the fella.
Yeah, but out of all the things you respect from the 90s, you're respecting that he was a Skrull? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
And that was a story that went over so dead. People hated that
He even stole that cover. The Wolverine autopsy cover is the electric. He stole that from that storyline.
So bad, man.
But I do like Secret Invasion. This one will be, I think it will have nothing to do with, obviously will have nothing to do with the comics.
I think it will be, yes. And I think that the fellow we see everybody in that restaurant turn into, if they're just space phantoms, I'll bet you that's the character model of the space phantom.
Oh, maybe.
And that he will then turn into other shapes.
Maybe.
And that's pathetic. Yeah. Because part of what made that character so cool was the at times frightening and at times silly appearance, depending on who was making the sketch. Yeah, so that's your Secret Invasion. But then, certainly.
But I will say, and I don't know if we're rating things, I am excited to see what it is until it's revealed. You know what I mean? Once it's revealed,
I'll give it a colder version of that. I'll say, I am eager to find out the answer to these gripey and kind of saucy little questions.
And I like
curiosity, man.
Yeah, and I'll watch the Samuel L. Jackson series for sure.
Yeah, it comes down to it. I've seen just about everything that man has done in a theater since Goodfellas. And that's right, my man Sticks.
Got it raw. He got it raw pretty bad in that movie. I will say too, Werewolf by Night. All those people in those trailers are somebody. They're all Marvel.
You think they're all going to?
No, they are. No, they've been told everyone that's in that trailer is a character.
Yeah, shame we don't have Blade among those characters.
No, I don't think he's gonna be. He won't be in this.
I know he won't at all. But that would have at least given us that.
But I want you to go through it and see if you could name the characters that are in that trailer, because one of them does have a costume.
Really?
Someone has a costume.
Hold on.
Yeah, they're all named.
Hold on. Do we have Dr. Glitter Knight?
I don't know.
Oh, now we've got some stuff happening here. Moondark.
Yeah, all that stuff. Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. The chick who gets her arm ripped off is somebody. Okay. So it's all named characters.
Okay.
Now, are they going to be supporting characters from Tomb of Dracula? We don't know. But
a random Nova villain, maybe. But that's the risk you run when you're going after Bronze Age properties.
So Werewolf by Night. Secret Invasion. What was the other trailer? All the announcements too. I thought we knew all the Armor War. They're making these announcements, and everyone's just like, "Yeah, duh, we know. We know about Armor War.
Over the stuff
we
they've
know
been saying for a year." They said nothing about the Scarlet Witch, as we said at the precept.
Oh, but the big one, the big
But
thing,
then,
that
of
Captain
course,
America was
The
crazy.
Twin Fists were Captain America. I wanted to make sure we were taking care of
Yeah,
everything else.
yeah.
Captain America and Thunderbolts. Now, Captain America, I suppose, is the more bizarro, insano, I don't understand what's happening announcement. So,
Yeah.
Paul, make the announcement to the people.
Apparently, the villain of the movie is the leader, the Hulk's main enemy, and it is
arch enemy
of
the Incredible Hulk,
and it is the
Mr.
actor,
Samuel Stern.
and it's the actor I'm blanking on from the Incredible
Played
Hulk.
by the Buster Scruggs guy whose name I never remember.
Right, he's
wonderful actor.
He's in the Edward Norton Incredible Hulk.
Returning from the Edward Norton
Bizarre.
Incredible Hulk, who he played a demented little man who is helping the Hulk evade authorities by the name of Samuel Stern.
And then
Hulk doesn't know who he is. He just calls him Mr. Green. Mr. Green is revealed to ultimately be the soft villain of the movie, that he has saved Bruce and lured Bruce toward him in the hopes that he can get some of that sweet, sweet gamma blood and mutate himself, because he's crazy and Weasley and such. It goes south. Bruce breaks away. The military gets its fingers involved in the process. And during it all, some of Bruce's blood flows into a head wound, and we see his brain pulse. And this was the suggestion that, there you go, you have your cinematic leader. Of course, I assumed we'd never see any of this again, and here we are. What I didn't realize was when I asked myself, who should the United Captain Americas fight? You know, resurrecting a franchise for a new millennium, a new decade, a new lifetime. The answer should be yes, the Hulk's archenemy. It was in my face and I missed it.
Yeah, very.
Curse my blind eyes.
And someone brought this up. They haven't said if she's a hero. She's probably gonna end up being a hero. Everyone's favorite Israeli mutant,
Here
Sabra.
comes Sabra. Ooh, boy.
And
so, ladies and gentlemen,
your
as I said to
second
Paul
mutant-
days ago, and he didn't seem to appreciate this, and it really broke my heart. I'm going to give him a chance to fix history. Paul, I'm very happy for you that we have your first two mutant characters and potential X-people. I speak, of course, of Sabra, the Israeli superhuman who shoots fingernail spikes, and Kamala Khan as Ms. Marvel.
I mean, like...
Go X-Men!
I could ignore... I mean, I think everyone is ignoring Kamala Khan.
Oh, not me.
But Sabra is an actual mutant. What are you doing, Marvel?
Well, she's the mutant of another land.
And I wonder if they're doing this, they're not going to say she's a mutant or not until the movie. I guarantee you, you will not know.
Paul, that's a fascinating idea. That every movie can now have a mystery character where to lure people in to find out whether or not they make them a mutant.
Because here's the thing.
Okay.
They might not make her a mutant. Because they've done that. Because Kamala Khan's...
She might just be a hot Israeli Mossad agent with guns.
Right.
Because this is the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Or maybe the leader gave her powers or something.
Yes.
But, like, I'm fascinated they think that bringing in a mutant who has not been popular since the 90s. And I like all the mutants, but, like... And
let's face it. I mean, how many people had heard about Pepe Larrigo before they decided to fish him out of obscurity? Am I right?
No,
I'm not talking about that Namor fellow. I'm talking about Pepe himself, the forgotten hero of 1938.
Okay, yes.
Continue, Paul.
I'm just fascinated by them choosing the leader. It's like they've chosen a Hulk villain.
There are thousands of villains.
X-Men ally, because she was never a member of the X-Men, as far as I remember.
There's no joke to make. It's just weird, right? It's like, it's so random.
Oh, and then the second Falcon is going to get his powers in this.
So that's the thing.
And it's like, okay.
All right, so here's what I'll throw out there in the way of Keith's weird thoughts. Maybe that's worthy of music. Rich, you think about it. Okay, so...
Is it me? Am I crazy that Sam Wilson should be fighting the 1950s Captain America? Right? That would be cool.
That's a movie, The Grand Director.
Yeah, you have that happen.
So when Sam Wilson in the books took over as Cap, and that was a considerable length of time before it happened in the movies, the opening storyline involved his battles with one of Cap's old enemies, Baron Zemo. And woven within this narrative that would involve Hydra and some other things, he fights a mad geneticist. They went with Cap's enemy, Dr. Carl Malice. Now, Carl did show up in a Marvel show. He showed up in Alias, I believe, is the villain of the second season. I ran screaming from that season.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll just take the world's word for it. But obviously, it is what it is. A character based on this. Malice has been around in the books since the 70s. He was originally a Spider-Woman villain. He's just an evil geneticist. He wound up enmeshed with the Power Broker organization. And that's where most fans would know him from.
Yeah.
See what Keith does for our listeners? Anyway, not even done talking about old Carl Malice. Malice shows up in a lovely miniseries, The Superior Carnage, back when Doc Ock was the Superior Spider-Man. Written by a fella, I believe, named Schnick, who I like everything he's done. He's a good little cat. And I'm sure I said his name terribly wrong. Put an asterisk on that, someone.
I don't know who that is. I don't know who he's talking about.
So in this book, Carl Malice joins the Frightful Four, who are central to the events of that story. Mm-hmm. And he winds up getting ripped apart by Carnage. Very sad. Very sad. And it was a little off-panel, so my hope was it would be resolved as an off-panel res. When the resurrection was made, it's kind of weird. In this story, which is this issue of Captain America, it is revealed that Carnage tore off his legs and then ate him and shat him out. And when his remains were shat out, he found himself now the synthesis of Carl Malice and a poo symbiote.
Oh, wow.
That's where we're at, people.
Wow.
That's why I couldn't let this opportunity pass without revealing this. So instead of him, because he would then go on to start mutating homeless people to serve Hydra, and one of them got turned into an actual Falcon Man who is that Captain America, the Sam Wilson Captain America's Falcon. So to replicate that story, we're going to replace Dr. Carl Malice, the poo-poo symbiote, with the leader. I want to ask you, and even Rich, who isn't as enmeshed in this world of horror and madness as us, who's the better villain to use? Poo-poo geneticist or the Hulk's archenemy? Who makes more sense? There is a secret third answer that is the none of the above. I don't want to set you up for failure, because that's the real answer.
You asked me two questions.
Go ahead.
Better or makes more sense?
Speak from the heart, Rich.
I know where this is going.
Because I think we all know the answer is poo-poo geneticist.
Right. Poo-poo symbiote.
Yes, by a Cleveland mind.
But I know why they picked the leader. Because they only want to use, not only, but not to get behind the curtain, this Captain America movie cannot make less money than Captain America, the other one.
Because no matter
Sam
what
Wilson,
the hell happens with the rest of it, it's got to be huge.
Yeah, so
you're bringing back one of the Tiffany Avengers.
Well, it's also Sam Wilson as Cap. That's what I'm saying.
But the other one is going to be. Well, that's my point, though, is that we're getting Chris. What's his face?
No, we're not.
He's not coming back
Chris
for
Evans
this.
is not in this.
I thought the whole announcement was it's going to backdoor him back.
No.
That's not happening in this movie?
No,
this movie is just Anthony Mackie fighting the leader?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Paul is now instructing me.
Yeah, you did not. Did you not hear this?
No, you gave me the announcement.
No, Chris Evans.
You've done it. So he's not coming back for this thing? Ladies and gentlemen, here is the only way we can save this movie. A letter writing campaign to see to it that the poo-poo symbiote, Dr. Carl Malice, is indeed the villain, and we kick that Hulk villain onto the UFO and straight back to Sakaar.
So the reation that the leader's in it is because they need an A-list villain
to start to build for Secret Wars.
Well, just making sure that this
and to
movie
start
doesn't
world building some super.
Yes,
Oh, there's a lot of different narratives.
Yeah, it's because now
we're selling this movie on the leader.
Yeah,
this changes everything, Paul. I'm dizzy, Paul.
Yeah. That's because Chris Evans is not in this movie.
Ladies and gentlemen,
this is Sam Wilson's movie.
Ladies and gentlemen, this movie is going to fail in strange ways.
Well, that's why Sauber's in it.
Oh, my God.
So that the X-Men fans will go see it.
Yeah, this is some weird-ass crap, man.
No, I mean, they don't... I mean, I like Sam, and I'm curious,
I am
but
confused and dizzied and amazed by the realization. The only thing that was making some kind of sense to me was in this weird scattershot way that they choose which story tropes to fuse into these films. They had randomly chosen that story about the new Falcon and Carl Poo-Poo. As well, we like the slickness and simplicity of this video game beat. It was a story written by Remender, as a matter of fact.
Right.
Wait. Remender wrote the son. And I'm comfortable with that. I was going to say maybe it was Al Ewing, but no, I think it was Remender. Anywho, doesn't matter. Poo Poo Malice is now the way to go. Otherwise, I'm not going anywhere near this thing in a theater. And is the long and short of it.
What's the original?
If it doesn't have the original in it, I assumed it was we need a evil geneticist because that's how we can de-age him.
No, he's not in this movie.
Oh my God, my lungs are filling with poo-poo symbiotes.
Yeah. Also, Isaiah,
Isaiah Bradley.
Isaiah Bradley's in it.
Yes, the character from Truth.
Right.
Which was mined out in the TV series.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
God.
there's they picked Leader because they cannot.
Okay, so Leader's going to fight the Sam Wilson Falcon.
Yes.
You're welcome, America.
Yeah.
It's for all of us.
Now, there are some people who are like, it's still time to have secret villain, which is Mephisto. No, not really. but I think they would have announced another villain, like a beat-em-up villain, like a Rhino or someone from the fight, but that's not going to happen.
Okay, here's some things, though. You know what would be neat? Do that, but then the Stinger is again a gauntleted hand crushing a cup. And we discover that Doom had played a hand in manipulating the Leader scenario.
No, that I guarantee you won't happen.
So that we're building the larger story that Doctor Doom is the most important thing moving forward.
I think a Sam Wilson movie would have been better with him fighting
Doctor Doom,
the Grand Director.
Oh, well,
it would be more like
if we were going to have that talk, and I suppose it is disrespectful not to in a way to the idea of the character because I'm fine with the Sam Wilson Captain America.
Oh, me too. But
I'm fine with doing a movie about him, but not sniping a rando villain from someone else's franchise.
It's weird. He would have been better fighting like
anybody. There are so many. Dude, Nightshade. It's an evil geneticist in the Captain America franchise. Baron Zemo. Now, I will grant you that Baron Zemo, his role as an evil geneticist was largely supported by Arnim Zola. So, guess what? Bring back Arnim Zola. You do the 1-2 hit of Zola as a head on a screen and Zemo doing the physicality of the villain. It was a cheaper way than doing Zola as a trundling robot.
And the Leader it's not picking up, like, it's a lot of meh.
And by the way, the Leader's not an evil geneticist. He's an evil physicist. There, I've said it. Let me be the guy who scoops every other talking head by saying that.
He's Gamma guy.
He deals with radiation. He built gelatin robots.
What happens if you see him fight all these Gamma men? What were they called? They weren't
the humanoids.
The humanoids?
The humanoids.
I guarantee you.
And that's what I was just going to say. Again, physicist, the humanoids' whole thing, their whole reason for pliancy was that they use physics against their foes.
No, not the humanoids. The Gamma ones.
The Gamma ones.
From the Peter
David. That Gamma group was specifically, I set off a bomb to create them, not evil geneticists, but you're going to see them in the movie.
You'll see them. Maybe.
Ogress, Jailbait.
I can't believe you didn't know.
And Hotshot.
I can't believe you didn't.
No, of course not. I would have been going nuts all weekend, dude.
No, he's not.
How many conversations we have about this? I didn't bring that up at all.
There's no Chris Evans.
Then this is just the weirdest idea ever.
Yeah.
Hey, why didn't we do, I don't know, the emergence of the Hobgoblin in the Captain America movie? It has just as much to do with him as the Leader. All right, well, that's just crazy and stupid. I'm glad that happened on air.
Yeah, me too.
That's a fun adventure.
That is
for
real.
all of you, the listening audience. Now, of course, the major announcement then, and the tying of lies, and of why I opened with the whole bit about Scarlet Witch, is just that we got our Thunderbolts announcements. Now, we had said last week what we had collectively learned from a variety of folks. And I will point out that while there are story beats that weren't hit in the announcement, that doesn't discount.
No, and
But in the wake of the Scarlet Witch thing, that's me showing some humility to tell you there's always that chance. But there are certain story beats that I'm not convinced we're not going to hear.
No, the Thunderbolts thing, too, is annoying.
Make the announcement, Paul.
Yeah, so they announced the lineup. The lineup was pretty much the entire lineup that was leaked, with the exception of Red Guardian, who's the only new person that was added.
Correct.
And there's no Zemo or Abomination or Titania. There's one. Zemo is probably going to be the villain in this. If he's not in the roll call, he's the villain.
And that's the larger announcement, is that any one of these other characters is likely still in the movie.
Titania
is probably Abomination thing seems very well, you can bet on it.
They're pretty much probably cannon fodder, is what I'm saying.
Like I said, Suicide Squad style, they burn through them early.
Yeah, they're not going to be...
Or they're used as a joke.
Right. But this lineup is the quote-unquote, I'm doing air quotes, real lineup of the movie.
Correct.
And a lot of people were like harping, not our listeners, but internet people, like, oh, the leaks were wrong. They literally every member besides Titania and Abomination Zemo are in this.
My only thing
It's
is, why
crazy.
call them the Thunderbolts? I say we call them the Savage Land Mutates, because they have as much to do with that lineup.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, Winter Soldier was a Thunderbolt for 5 minutes.
So was Yelena.
And
Well,
Yelena as the villainous
Right.
White Widow / Black Widow
Right.
was part of Norman Osborn's Thunderbolts, which is arguably a different animal, but you can get away with that. Taskmaster. The undead Taskmaster,
which was in the leaks,
which was part of the leaks, and was affiliated with one of the other Thunderbolts groups.
What a way to not read a room. I mean, like,
Amen.
Taskmaster is a solid B-list fan favorite, and
Yeah.
then just throwing him out the window for a character that could be called anything.
A character that is so problematic, it helps de-wokeify arguments about any one of the films in their initiatives.
That's a dude in that stunt suit, and it's
And that's usually
like-
where those talks need to go to just end them once and for all.
And again, I've said no one likes new characters. And the same thing with Ghost. Ghost has the same problem. No one likes new characters because they're not gender swaps.
And that is worth saying as well, that the canon version of the Ghost, the creepy, magnificent supervillain of the same name, was a member of one of the darker versions of the team. So having that character on the team is something. It's lip service, but again, you have to point out that's not the Ghost. There's nothing about that character
and again,
at all
she's
that's
not
the Ghost.
she is not a gender swap. She's a completely different person.
Yeah, exactly.
Playing the Ghost. Same thing with this lady Taskmaster. This is not
this is Zombie Robot 49.
This is not a gender swap. This is
Comrade,
a new
Zombie
character.
Robot 49.
I
would love her so much if her name was Comrade Zombie Robot
and again,
49.
I wish I was a corporation.
Start the letter writing campaign, people.
I'd love it if I was a corporation where I bought thousands of characters and I said, you know what? We're going to pay somebody to create a new version of this character and not use the one that we own. It's baffling to me. It's insane. And before anyone starts to, there are so many better female Thunderbolts characters that could be in this. Songbird,
universally
Moonstone.
beloved Songbird.
Yeah, Moonstone could be in this.
One of everybody's favorite villainesses.
Jolt could be in this. It's crazy that they think that, it's, but you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean.
It's crazy.
And it's worth mentioning. I am a huge fan of the Thunderbolts franchise. Was from the onset. And we will continue discussing the announcements about the movie, but I feel it is worth mentioning for the uninvested, or the less invested, or the curious, that the Thunderbolts as a thing has a bit of a comic pedigree. I figured we could spend 5 minutes to chat about it. Back in the 80s, when Curdy B, one of my heroes, who we talk about a lot on the show, Kurt Busiek, was on the other side of the talent pool. He was an editor and a support organ of Marvel in the 80s. He still was a creative. He was still involved with plenty of books. And one of those books, kind of at the behind the scenes, was when Roger Stern was working on the Avengers. And a legendary story that folks tend to remember is the siege on Avengers Mansion, which was when the current, or the more well-known Zemo, Helmet, the Sun, came into his own as a supervillain, created the largest and most worthy inheritors of the name of his father's group, the Masters of Evil, and thrashed the Avengers beyond all recognition, nearly killing Hercules and Jarvis, destroying Avengers Mansion, holding New York at bay until a new network of heroes were able to break through and save the day in an epic storyline. Behind the scenes, the storyline was supposed to go differently. As Kurt had envisioned it with Roger Stern, it was going to be that Avengers start disappearing for a variety of different reasons, that the team starts to thin. Cap's the only guy left. So in that same style as when the team first went through a shakeup and we had a whole new team of reformed villains, as the people were leaving the team, these bright, happy new heroes are going to be showing up. Heroes with names like Songbird and Citizen V. And there would come a day when all of the Avengers were the Masters of Evil that had been organized by Baron Zemo.
Oh, that's very cool.
So
that's very cool, actually.
That's how far back the Thunderbolt scenes go. That Masters of Evil storyline grew out of that.
Right.
And it established Zemo. And then years and years later, as we came out of the 90s, as we went into the rise of the Busick, what I would call the Marvels era of Avengers.
Yeah.
Of hopeful and bright stories that once again drew deep into the back catalog of characters and continued old and open storylines. The Thunderbolts concept was revisited after the Onslaught storyline, in which all of the dyed-in-the-wool heart of the Marvel Universe was removed and outsourced in the Heroes Reborn event, which produced a lot of lovely things and a lot of weird controversies, which we've talked about before. But not to get sidetracked, one of the brilliant and glorious results of this experiment was that Kurt was allowed to launch a Thunderbolts monthly series, in which a new team of bright, hopeful heroes step in to fill the vacuum left by the departed Fantastic Four and Avengers, and they unmask in secret as the masters of evil. That they will win the public's trust by playing the greatest of heroes and also fulfill their villainous goals while playing superhero to the world. It was brilliant, it was dynamic, and it was just ahead of the internet enough that you could still surprise somebody with a last page reveal at the end of that first issue.
So Disney decides that we're going to get a Suicide Squad for the Marvel Universe.
So Disney decides
that
to
is a kick in
Suicide
the
Squad
nuts.
then.
Yeah.
So the larger talk there, I guess, not in their defense, but in acknowledgement, is that after Kurt would leave that book after several years, it would go through a variety of inheriting hands, and most of them would keep that spirit of the villains as heroes alive in one capacity or another. Obviously, it led to redemption arcs for most of those villains, and some of them have become beloved franchise characters.
I get a Suicide Squad vibe from
the
this.
Suicide
from the
Squad
marketing.
vibe comes out of the eventual inheritance of the Marvel Knights era Marvel Universe, where everybody, creators from the Joey Q stable, and I don't say that as a derogatory, just the that era of the bullpen, they dug the idea of making the Thunderbolts some sort of Suicide Squad. And I don't. There's no larger moral component to that. I get it. Different editors view the world in different ways.
Well, and we should also backtrack to this.
But those versions of those characters have a lot of fans as well.
Yeah, but this lineup has no, like you said, no Thunderbolts.
I would argue just that the Black Widow justification and kind of the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, but you could put them in a Captain America franchise. I
get it. But we're also in a world in which the leader has been chosen over the rightful Dr. Carl Malazpupu as the main villain of the Captain America franchise.
And we should point out too, the Thunderbolts don't die. That's they're not the Suicide Squad. They don't have guaranteed deaths.
This idea of acceptable losses isn't part of it. So yeah, I still say you're going to get your Titania and you're going to get your Abomination.
They'll be dead.
They'll be your acceptable losses, or just a gag somewhere down the road.
I think Titania, she's already said stuff about not wanting the role.
Correct.
So she might be dead. Tim Roth, I'm assuming, was paid ridiculous amounts of money to do She-Hulk.
Right.
So I don't think I doubt he's going to want to show up in something.
And it's someone or other pointed out, and I thought it was clever. I think it was, regardless, something about the fact that, okay, what's their power pool? And the answer is there isn't one, right?
No.
People used to make that crack about the Suicide Squad with Harley Quinn. What's she going to do against a rogue Superman? What's this team doing against?
I still like that joke where someone on YouTube made a video and they're like, who, behind these guys?
Right.
Who's behind the guys behind them? And they're like, no, this is the team. And the argument is always, well, the Enchantress is a magic user, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, just send her.
Yeah, right. Just send the Enchantress.
That's one of the many problems with the first Suicide Squad film.
It's like, it's a crocodile guy, two guys with weapons.
And then when we see them out in the field, well, apparently we should have just been sending her all along. Because the crocodile guy wasn't needed. We could have sent Roy in an iron lung.
Right.
You don't need Pepe Larrigo to do that kind of swimming.
Right. And now, make no mistake, I like this James Gunn Suicide Squad made more sense.
Oh, such a gift.
And
God bless you, Mr. J.
And I think this T-Bolts movie is going to be based on that. I think it's going to be a heist or something, or a mission, government mission.
You ain't off, Daddy.
Elaine is going to say, hey, go do this. Maybe we get a scroll reveal during the movie, because apparently we won't get it in the show, because Secret Invasion comes out before T-Bolts.
But
so they won't ruin it.
Think about what threat they have to meet in order to showcase that selection of vanilla nobodies. It's going to be Zemo, so I say it's going to be Zemo Hydra. I think we bring back Hydra as Hydra by now.
Yeah.
Because they like evil organizations like Damage Control.
Have you heard the really nasty rumor that I could see Disney doing, which would piss everybody off?
I stand ready to be pissed.
The Thunderbolts
Go ahead.
They fight the Thunderbolts. They fight the real Thunderbolts. That's the rumor. That Zemo's like he makes.
Where's anybody getting that from, though? I don't trust it.
They're getting leaks because the reason why people think Zemo's in this is because the actor said I'm the leader of the Thunderbolts. So he's not in the lineup, which means he's not the leader. So
no, he could still be the leader. I'm saying that even after that announcement, he could still be the leader. Yeah.
But if he's the villain, he's leading because his the Thunderbolts, even their level of power, except for Atlas, is on par with this team, right? It's just a tech guy. Songbird has sonic powers. It's not anything crazy.
Ultimately, maybe they'll defy all of our expectations. Maybe ultimately we're entering the best timeline ever, and that their foeman is indeed.
So ends another episode of Infinite Geek Talk. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to find the Rat's Nest Studios on Facebook for news, updates, and to keep the conversation going. And don't forget to rate and review the show to help spread the word. Infinite Geek Talk is brought to you by Infinite Heroes Comics, Cards, and Collectibles in Watertown, Connecticut. Infinite Geek Talk is a Rat's Nest production, recorded and engineered by Rich Johnson in the Rat's Nest Studio.
The leader is great. We surrender our will as of the state. The leader is good. The leader is great. We surrender our will as of the state.
It's no use. He's obviously the most powerful mind we've ever dealt with.